fourth and final installment of our Elul Drasha series in Tavshin Pei Dalid. Yesh Koach to L'Olam for coming out. We said each time that just coming to a Drasha is already a Balatar Messiah. So the Yid takes one step towards the Kodesh Baruch Hu, and Hashem helps him from there. It's a big schus to have the Rosh Yeshiva of Torah Stein, Rabbi Luban, Shlita, address us with some Divrei Torah, Divrei Chizuk, the upcoming Yom Noraim.
Thank you. Shus, Rav, Gita. I wanted to deal with a question. I didn't want to repeat what I said last year, so something a little different. Someone comes with the following question, that he's nichshel in a certain aveira, and he feels very bad about it. He tried to stop many times, and he can't stop. Now, whether that's really true, he can't stop, but as far as he's concerned, he can't stop. You know, we maybe believe there's no such thing, but Basher Usham, he feels he can't stop. He says, Tshuva is supposed to be Kabbalah Asid. Can't do a Kabbalah Asid. He knows he can't stop. He's not stopping. It's not in his mind, it's not in his yada, in his ability to stop. So what is he supposed to do? How is he supposed to come in Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur? That was the question. So there are numerous answers to this question, but I want to say two answers to the question, both really because both answers are extremely yesodis in their own right, and the question gives an excuse to give these two answers together. There is a pasuk in the Chumash that Yishmael, we know, when Avram kicked Yishmael out of the house, because Sarah told Avram that Yishmael was a Rasha. They saw him doing Avodah Zarah, Sheikhas Damim, etc. So he throws Yishmael out. Then Yishmael is dying of thirst, and Hashem performs a nace, and gives him water. The pasuk says, famous pasuk, Yisham Elokim Eskol Anar Basher Husham. So there's a Gemara. It says that we learn out, Rashi brings it right here, that Basher Husham, that Rashi brings that a person is nidon the way he is now, which means that we don't use the future. Okay? So the problem is, but even now, Yishmael is a Rasha. Obviously he's a Rasha, because that's why he's being thrown out of the house. So everyone has this kasha. It's not my kasha. But many of the Forshim say that Enoch and Ami was a Rasha, but at this second, when he's dying of thirst, even a Rasha has second thoughts. You know, Rasha is a Rasha, calls man, he can enjoy life. But if you're a minute before you're going to die, Rasha feels bad about being a Rasha. But the problem is that that's not tshuva, not charat al avar, not kabbalah al asid. So again, there are different shatim, but there's a sefer here, brought in a sefer. It's notes on the Or Yisrael by Rabbi Sion Brook. That's out. Rabbi Sion Brook was one of the Gedolei Bali Musar of the last generation. He founded Yeshiva Navardik in Israel, in Yerushalayim, around the 1930s. And he's quoting here one of his Rabbi, so going back another generation, that he had a Rabbi in Navardik Yeshiva. And he said, gave the following aside. He said that Enoch and Ami, Yishmael did not do any tshuva in the past. He had no future. Past is bad, future is bad. But at the present, Basher Husham, he's okay. He says the aside is that there's a whole new concept of judgment. That Hashem judges you in the present, forgetting about the past and forgetting about the future. In other words, tshuva, we have kabbalah, asid, charata, avar. You have three parts. You have charata, that's past. Vidui is the present. Kabbalah, asid is the future. But he says that there's a type of different concept. I don't know if you want to call it tshuva, that Hashem judges you basher usham. Many rise to that. As you made tshuva, many people have the minhag, it's brought down, that we don't eat palter. What's I have no intention to continue that after Aseret Yimei Tshuva. So what is that? I don't have charata that I did in the past, and I don't have a kaboa ha'osid not to do in the future. So what's the point? That's the point of not eating pas palter for 10 days for Aseret Yimei Tshuva. It doesn't serve any function. The Chinuch says in the mitzvah of Yom Kippur, the reason why Hashem gave a mitzvah of Yom Kippur of fasting is because when you fast, you can reach a higher madrega. So Hashem judges you when you're in that higher madrega. But no one is expecting to continue fasting after Yom Kippur. So that level that you reached is totally temporary. It doesn't mean anything. So what he says is that there's no past, there's no present, there's no future, but the present. Truth is, there's a Rabbi Yaina that seems to say the same thing, because there's famous stirrup. I don't go into Rabbi Yaina. Rabbi Yaina, the Shari Tshuva, speaks about 20 steps of Tshuva, but the Rabbi Yaina, Yesayra Tshuva, seems to say a different system. He talks about being a katan shanoirad. He leaves out charata altogether. So many people say something similar. But this is what he quotes his Rabbi is saying, is that there's a second system, that Hashem judges you b'asher husham. Says we have that in the Geisha court. When a person comes to court, you catch a juvenile delinquent, and he comes to court, they'll put on a suit. Oh, she can take a haircut. Might be the first time and the last time in his life, unless he gets arrested again, that he ever wore a suit. And the judge knows that also. But when you come to the court, you wear a suit. And it makes the judge treat him differently. If he would walk in without a suit, they would treat him differently. Imagine if he walks in without a suit, and he's arrested for pickpocketing, and while the judge is deciding what to do, the judge looks for his watch and it's gone. He's not going to get off so easy. Now the judge might know that the odds are he's going to let him off. He's going to 5 minutes from now he's going to go back pickpocketing. But Bashir Husham, he's not pickpocketing. So there's such a concept that the judgment is judged. It's a chesed that Hashem judges you the way you are at the time of the judgment. It's not the only concept. Of course, there's a concept that looks in the future and the past. But one of the cheshbonos that goes into effect. This sefer, with Rabbi Brook, takes it to an extreme. He says there are many kashas that there's a difference between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. It's very strange. He says that Yom Kippur, the main part of Yom Kippur is vidui. They say vidui 10 times. People they say vidui achidah, they say baruch. People are marach and vidui all day long. Rosh Hashanah, you're not allowed to say vidui. What is it? Is vidui an ikar part of tshuva? Then why don't you say it on Rosh Hashanah? On Yom Kippur, we're fasting. On Rosh Hashanah, we're celebrating, but you have a Sudas Yantif. It's a chiyuv to have an Eireg Yantif. If you have bitachon, you're going to be zeich in the day. Well, if you have bitachon, how come on Yom Kippur you don't have bitachon? What's the difference? How come Rosh Hashanah we have Kabbalah, Malchus Shemayim, Shofar, you don't have Yom Kippur? So he wants to say, this is Rabbi from the Vardik, that the Iker approach on Yom Kippur, Rosh Hashanah, is Bashir Husham. Of course, Rosh Hashanah is also tshuva, it's one of the Aseret Yimei Tshuva. But the Iker, what we try and do is at least, we're not ready for tshuva yet. So we're doing Bashir Husham. At least on Rosh Hashanah, let me be on a high madrega. If we're trying to be on a high madrega on Rosh Hashanah, then we forget about our Averis, at least not verbally. Maybe in your mind you think about them, you should think about them, but verbally, we don't say vidui. Verb and behavior, we act like we have bitachon, or mekabel o malchus shamayim. He gives us mashal, it's his mashal, that you go to a photographer and you pose for the picture. So Rosh Hashanah, we're posing for the picture perfect pose. That we're tzaddikim, where everything's great. Asher Husham. Says Yom Kippur, it's a different story. Yom Kippur, we're coming to get tshuva. Yom Kippur, we're going to the doctor. He says, imagine you go to the doctor. You don't hide your problems. You tell the doctor all the problems. In Yom Kippur, you want Hashem to cure you. Hashem helps us to cure us from our Averis. He goes, Masrakta Mayim Tahirim. So we go ahead and we're mizvada on all our Averis. So we go ahead and we admit to all our Averis. We're trying to do tshuva. But he says the Iker, that the Iker Diyan, is what this Gadol said. I'm sure other people disagree, but this shows how far it goes, this concept of Asher Husham. That he said that the Iker Diyan of Rosh Hashanah is Basher Husham. Therefore, we don't say vidui, and we act besimcha and bitachin, and we mikabo malchus shamayim because we're acting like total tzaddikim on Rosh Hashanah. So there, Mamela, just getting back to our question that this Bacher would ask is that I don't think I can do tshuva. The answer is there's a different system. Okay, if you can't do the system of tshuva, there is a system of Basher Usham. It is at least, okay, you can't do long-term tshuva, at least on Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, during Slichas, Aseret Yemei Tshuva. Don't pickpocket while you're in court. At least for this time, behave. And that's a very important. People sometimes feel they're being hypocritical. Not hypocritical. That's the way the judgment is set up. So there's a special inyan, and it's again to us too, that it's brought down that every day of the week before, every day of the week is the day of the Aseret Tshuva, corresponding day of the week. There's that we should go ahead and especially in Rosh Hashanah, especially Aseret Yemei Tshuva, especially Yom Kippur, even if it means we don't intend necessarily keeping on that high level, we don't think it's realistic, but just like we're machmer on pas palter, we have to go ahead and try and reach a higher level of shleimus. We're more careful on our davening, more careful on avoiding averis, because that's Basher Usham. What's going to be afterwards? It's a different story. But if you want the proper din, you got to be Basher Usham. Okay, that's the first answer. The second answer is maybe a more interesting and maybe more basic, Yisaitistic, that there's a chazal, that's a mechilta, that when Hashem told Bnei Israel to bring the Korban Pesach, and to be mechin, days before, to take the animal and to watch it before they actually machav it. So the mechilta says that Hashem was, the reason for this was only by Korban Pesach in Mitzrayim. Other Korban Pesach, you don't have to take it early. But in Mitzrayim, there's a special din, they had to take it a few days earlier, and to watch it, and then to be shachta for Korban Pesach. So why the special din by Pesach Mitzrayim? So Mechilta says, because Klal Yisrael were still stuck in Avodah Zarah, which is a Pliyat Suma. They already saw the Nisim, it has 9 Makkos, but it shows how deeply rooted they were in Avodah Zarah, the habit that even they saw the Nisim Gluyim and 9 Makkos, but they couldn't get out of Avodah Zarah. So they were deeply rooted in Avodah Zarah. Therefore, they needed the Korban Pesach to get them out of Avodah Zarah. By taking the Korban Pesach, it got them out of the Avodah Zarah. How did taking the Korban Pesach get them out of the Avodah Zarah? So everyone learns, Pashup Shat, is because the Pesach was the Avodah Zarah of the Mitzrim. That was the Seh, was the Avodah Zarah of the Mitzrim. By taking the Avodah Zarah and the Mitzrim and saying, we're going to shecht it, so it's what we call, in the Musar language, they call that Chinuch HaMusar, doing a behavior for 3 days, it becomes part of your personality, and it ingrained in them the belief that they don't believe in the Seh. But my Rashid Zatzal was medayik, entitled in the Lashon, the Mechilta doesn't say that. The Mechilta says, the Lashon is, like HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, the exact line, Mishku yidechem yavo zara v'dabku b'mitzvahs. Says Mishku kuchu. So Mishku yidechem yavo zara. Stop doing avodah zara. How? V'dabku b'mitzvahs. So mitzvahs is a generic term, because it almost sounds like it would have been the same if he would have told them to get involved in making matzahs. So he said pshat is like this, and it's extremely Yisaitistic. Is sometimes the best thing is always to go through the front door, to go straight, the straight path. But if you can't go through the front door is locked. You go through the back door. You go around the Torah. There's a system. The system is, if you read the Mesilas Yesharim, the system is Zehiris, and Zehiris brings to Zehiris. It's a pasuk. Sur Meirah Va'asei Tov. That's the right system. You're supposed to first do Sur Meirah, and then you're supposed to do Asei Tov, and Sur Meirah brings to Asei Tov. That's the system. But what if you try and do Tzur Meirah and the front door is locked? You're trying to do Tzur Meirah. That's the system. That's the normal system. For every person, the best system. Tzur Meirah, Asay Toiv. I try and do Tzur Meirah. I can't do Tzur Meirah. So there's a suggestion. I can't? Okay, what can you do? Then you got to skip it. Or I don't skip it, but you do as much as you can. You go do the Asay Tov. And then you come in from the Asay Tov, you go back to the Tzur Meirah. Because the Asay Tov, since they're connected, if the Tzur Meirah causes the Asay Tov, then indirectly the Asay Tov also causes the Tzur Meirah. There's a logic for that. A person involved in Asay Tov gives him a sense of fulfillment, gives him a sense of accomplishment, gives him a sense that he has a neshama, it gives him a sense of chashivas. So I should do an Aveira. So by Asay Tov, builds a person up, and then he's less likely to do the Tzur Meirah, the Aveiras. So Avada, the normal system is Tzur Meirah, Asay Tov. The Yesharim says that's the way. But for a person who can't do Tzur Meirah, so we tell him Asay Tov. So that's how the Yeshiva, that's how learn Pshat in this Medrash, in this Mechilta. Klal Yisrael were stuck in Avodah Zarah. For whatever reason, all the Nisim, nothing, they couldn't break out of Avodah Zarah. So they can't do the Tzur Meirah. So Hashem says, okay, we'll do a new system. Iskil b'mitzvahs. We're going to do the Asay Tov. We're going to go ahead and get involved in doing mitzvahs, day and night mitzvahs. We're going to do 3 days and the Korban Pesach. We're taking care, watching over the Korban Pesach. By building up the Asay Tov, Memele, through the back door, you'll come to go ahead and do the Tzur Meirah. Shiva used to give a mashal. It was his Shiva's mashal, not my mashal. He said mashal was that a person who is a very good hitter in baseball, but he's not a good fielder. He's an amazing hitter. So what should he do? So the normal reaction would be, listen, you got to work on your fielding. You're a great hitter, so there's no reason to work on that, but you better work on your fielding. So he would say, no. You're going to work, there's a reason why you're not a good fielder, because you're not a good fielder. It's against your grain. You're going to work on fielding. It's not going to go so much. It's against your grain. But there's also a reason why you're a great hitter, because that's in your personality. So if you would work on hitting, you'll be really amazing. And it becomes so amazing, there'll be write-ups about you in the newspapers. And you'll be so amazing that the scouts from the major leagues are going to want you because this guy's the most amazing hitter in the world. And they'll take you into the major leagues. And if you're in the major leagues, everyone in the major leagues knows how to field. They'll figure it out. They'll have to figure it out. But you got to get your ticket to Gadlus. Your ticket to Gadlus is what you're naturally good at. When you take your ticket to Gadlus and you use it to become the Gadol, then everything else follows because it gets dragged along. Because a mitzvah, gereres mitzvah, whatever, that a person reaches Gadlus, everything follows. So you have to figure out, sometimes it's more smarter, instead of putting all your energy, I'm not trying to say you shouldn't do any energy, because obviously tshuva, you got to do tshuva on your chesroinus. But instead of spending all our energy focusing only on our chesroinus, we got to spend a large part of our energy also focusing on our midas, because that's where, when a person grows in his midas, that's where he shines. And then he feels good about himself, he gets, whatever, there's many, many things, whether it's mystical, not logical, and therefore it affects his behavior. So that was Pshat in the Korban Pesach, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu told him that here we have to do the Asay Tov before the Tzur Meirah. We have to use the back door. Because you can't, you're not succeeding. First we tried the 9 makkahs to get you out of Avodah Zarah, didn't succeed. So now we're going to do a different system, and that's really the answer to this fellow. The fellow has this question that I have this problem, whatever my problem, my ex-problem is, and I don't feel that I'm able to stop. So with the answer that we tell him is that, listen, obviously you should have charat ha'avar, you should feel you want to do tshuva. But now you have to come up with a system. You have to kabbalah al-asid. So instead of saying the kabbalah al-asid is I'm going to stop right now, the kabbalah al-asid is eventually I'm going to stop, and I have a system how to make myself stop. What's my system how to make myself stop? By being good in what I'm good at. by working at what I'm good at and by raising my level. So if I'm naturally a good learner, I'm naturally a good davener, and I work on that, then the assumption is in a year, 2 years, 3 years, eventually, or maybe in less time, by working in those things, it'll pull, and I'll be able to stop this also. So that's also Kabbalah Asid. I'm a Kabbalah on the Asid to stop what I'm doing there's a system. Instead of going through the front door, I'm using the back door. So Memela, that's called a Kabbalah Asid, and it's a valid tshuva, even on the Aveira that the person is doing. So just the conclusion is, I'm trying to say, is that there's really two ways of mechazek for this person. One is that even if a person is not doing charot al avar, he's not doing kabbalah asid, but there's a concept of basher usham, and that's very important for us, that we should try in these 2 weeks, the slichas, the asaras me'tshuva, to go ahead and try and reach a high level. One of the Bali Musar gave a Moshe also that if the telephone poles, that if when you have an Erev, I don't know if they do it now, maybe they have better strings, but in the old days, the Erev used to what's it called, what? Sag, thank you. They used to sag, it was a problem. They could sag so much. So the eitzah is, if the string is sagging, you put another post up to hold it up. So the more posts you have that temporarily hold it up to the top, even when it sags, it can't go sag so much. So the concept is also, if you have if you're able to, through, this concept that we're saying, the first is for one day, you reach a high madrega. 2 weeks later, you reach one day a high madrega, etc. So then, even when you sag, you don't sag so much. So the one concept is that we have to try, especially the Aseres Me'tshuva, especially Slichas, to reach a high madrega, and that will give us the schos of Asher Usham. And then the second system is that we should realize that tshuva does not always mean, Kabbalah Asid does not mean that Mekabel, they're going to stop tomorrow. Sometimes it's not realistic to be, I once heard Rav Shadran say, a person who makes a Kabbalah, I'm going to be a tzaddik tomorrow, he's a fool. A person who makes a Kabbalah Asid does not mean everything I'm going to do a perfect Shemona Esrei tomorrow, I'm never going to speak Lashon Hara again the rest of my life. That's not realistic for most people. But Kabbalah Asid, I'm going to come up with a system which eventually will get me there. So I have charata. I'm sorry that I'm doing these things wrong. I'm striving to get there, and I have to come up with a system. But the system sometimes is by directly working on the problem, and sometimes the best system is by not working on the problem, but by working, or besides working on the problem, I shouldn't say no, obviously you should work on the problem, but besides working on the problem, also working on what you're good in, and by growing in what you're good in, then Memeda is going to have an effect to raise you even on all your problems, and it'll be a valid Kabbalah. Okay. Very much have a good yard. See you next time.